You guys came for basketball.
Yeah,
Let's talk about basketball.
Yeah.
Come on now.
What do you think of just how you all were able to pull away in the second half, Caitlin, in particular?
We're going to the Commissioner Cup Championship.
Let's
That's
go!
pretty exciting. Y'all want to talk about that? Let's talk.
Caitlin Clark had finally, visibly and audibly, reached her breaking point. You guys came for basketball. Let's talk about basketball. Come on now, she stated, her voice edged with a palpable frustration that had clearly been accumulating like a pressure cooker over weeks of relentless, often off-topic grilling. This wasn't merely a frustrated athlete lashing out, it was a clear signal, a line drawn in the sand after an incessant barrage of questions that seemed determined to orbit anywhere but the actual sport she'd just poured her heart into on the court. But one particular reporter's question, delivered in the already charged atmosphere of an awkward WNBA post-game interview, truly set the stage for a shutdown that sent ripples through the sports world, electrifying her supporters and giving media critics ample material.
Caitlin, when your head coach came out with a statement today saying she denounces all the racism that some people have felt in this league, players, trolls online, all those things, as one of the biggest stars in this league, what are your thoughts on the things not only your teammates have to endure, but just the entire league? And obviously, you spoke on this before, but just now your coach and your GM are talking about it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting. I don't think nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice.
The pivotal moment unfolded after her head coach, Christy Sides, had taken the proactive step of releasing a statement. This statement was aimed at denouncing the racism and hateful rhetoric that some had perceived bubbling within the league's discourse, particularly targeting players and amplified by the anonymous venom of online trolls. A reporter, perhaps sensing a juicy angle or simply defaulting to a now familiar line of inquiry, zeroed in on Clark. Caitlin, when your head coach came out with a statement today, what are your thoughts on the things not only your teammates have to endure, but just the entire league? Even before the question had fully unspooled, Clark's eyebrows had launched into an expressive arc towards her hairline. This wasn't a gesture of surprise or curiosity. It was a nonverbal explosion of exasperation, a look that unequivocally screamed, "Are we seriously going down this rabbit hole again?" It was a fleeting, silent monologue, a powerful testament to the emotionally draining narrative she was constantly forced to navigate.
Caitlin Clark, please leave this league and let it crumble. Please, this league does not deserve you. All this hate from these black people, all this hate from these lesbians, these people in the media, just go play basketball somewhere else. Your fans will follow you. We will follow you wherever you go. But let this shit crumble and burn to the fucking ground, man. Let the viewership drop below 50%. Let them lose hundreds of millions of dollars again, man. Let them go back into fucking irrelevancy. Nobody giving a damn about none of these players. Just leave.
That singular, almost theatrical eyebrow raise, coupled with the almost imperceptible tightening of her jaw, instantly transformed into viral content, a visual meme for a generation. Fans, armchair psychologists, and sports analysts alike immediately began to dissect every flicker of her micro-expressions with the intensity usually reserved for deciphering ancient hieroglyphs or critical frames of a controversial film. Was it unadulterated shade being thrown? Was it the quiet simmer of contained rage? Or was it simply the unfiltered, raw spice of operating under the immense pressure cooker of the WNBA spotlight? This intense focus highlighted a peculiar and arguably problematic reality. Caitlin Clark's facial expressions during press conferences were frequently garnering more detailed analysis and speculative airtime than her astonishing court vision or her strategic mastery of the game. The media often seemed less captivated by her game plan and more obsessed with her emotional state, treating every post-game interview not as a sports debrief, but as an episode of a reality TV drama, constantly zooming in for the slightest hint of hidden beef or controversy.
This is a public announcement. I need everybody to stop what they're doing and listen up. As we watch the WNBA every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game, but we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She gone for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate?
This relentless scrutiny, and what many perceive as a pattern of being unfairly targeted, has ignited an almost unprecedented firestorm among her rapidly growing and fiercely loyal fan base. Social media platforms, from X, formerly Twitter, to TikTok and Instagram comment sections, erupted with impassioned, sometimes extreme declarations. Caitlin Clark, please, for your own sake, leave this league and let it completely crumble without you. This league and its current climate simply do not deserve your talent. One widely circulated comment read. Others echoed this sentiment with even more vehemence. Let the viewership plummet back to pre-Clark levels, below 50% of what it is now. Let them face the financial consequences and lose hundreds of millions of dollars again, man. Let them fade back into irrelevancy, where nobody gives a DMN about any of these other players if they can't appreciate what they have. These weren't just throwaway remarks from disgruntled viewers. They were deeply felt, almost desperate pleas from a fan base that felt Clark was being systematically mistreated, unfairly villainized, and emotionally exploited. Their shocking calls for her to abandon the WNBA, thereby allowing it to burn to the ground, reflected a profound level of frustration and a protective instinct towards their new icon.
Oh, she brings everyone in. Like, literally, she goes to the indoor volleyball team in Indianapolis, and, of course, the cameras are on her and the big screen, and she's doing pictures with the team, and people want to be around it because she's there. I'm a little surprised that they haven't. She did have part of the ownership group of a Cincinnati franchise. The NWSL went with Denver. But to me, if I'm a league, I get Caitlin Clark involved in a ownership, part ownership, some kind of thing, any women's sports thing. You've got a magnet here, that attention magnet, the likes of which we have never seen in women's sports.
At the very core of this simmering discontent is the media's seemingly insatiable appetite for drama over substantive gameplay analysis. Instead of dedicating column inches and airtime to dissecting her statistically brilliant 30-point performances, her pinpoint assists, or her game-changing clutch shots, the questions and subsequent narratives invariably, almost predictably, circled back to so-called heated moments. Incidents like the on-court tangle with Marina Mabury, or the persistent, often unsubstantiated theories about the entire league covertly targeting her, became the recurring themes. It's a frustratingly predictable rinse-recycle-repeat cycle of what many see as lazy journalism, where the same overcooked, conflict-driven narratives are yanked out of the grab bag time and time again. Clark herself must feel like she's the unwilling protagonist in a poorly scripted, never-ending soap opera, where every episode, regardless of her actual on-court achievements, inexplicably casts her as the villain simply for being extraordinarily talented and, consequently, drawing an unprecedented amount of global attention. She could execute a flawless game, contribute to a stunning team victory, and the dominant headline would still likely fixate on a perceived side-eye during a routine timeout or a misconstrued post-game comment.
Caitlin Clark, and I put this analogy in there, she's a player that you have to guard 94 feet. She can shoot. There's no question. Probably one of the best girls shooters I've seen in a minute. But what else can she do? Think about it. You know, and I'm trying to get you guys to understand this. Her passing capability of averaging nine assists per game. She's capable of doing that because the game is stretched so far for her. It's wide open. It have to be. You have to play. America. You have to play up. I've never seen anything like it. She creates havoc for defenses because you got to play.
What makes this constant narrative churn even more perplexing and, frankly, illogical is the undeniable, almost astronomically significant economic impact Caitlin Clark has single-handedly had on the WNBA in a remarkably short period. Official league merchandise sales have reportedly skyrocketed by an astounding 500% since her heralded arrival. Her games, whether home or away, are consistently drawing millions of viewers, shattering previous viewership records, and bringing an entirely new demographic to the sport. The Indiana Fever's franchise value, a team that struggled for relevancy for years, is said to have quadrupled almost overnight due to her presence. Cities like Indianapolis are experiencing a tangible tourism boom, with hotel bookings and local businesses seeing increased revenue directly linked to Fever Games and Clark's immense popularity. Some financial analysts and sports economists are even projecting that Clark's presence, if sustained, could be a key factor in helping the WNBA generate close to $1 billion in overall revenue by 2025. Yet, despite being the undeniable golden goose, the financial engine driving newfound prosperity, she is often treated like a public piñata at every press conference. She's implicitly expected to smile graciously and absorb the relentless poking and prodding, all designed to elicit a controversial soundbite or a reaction that can be spun into further drama.
Caitlin Clark is essential. The Caitlin Clarks, the Michael Jordans, the Christian Pulisic saying, I'm not going to go and play. It is essential to American sports, these disruptive figures who just don't owe us either toe the company line for the GM, it drives us crazy. Dissent drives us crazy. But Caitlin Clark is basically saying, yeah, I'm going to score.
Given this relentless pressure, it's hardly surprising that her patience, a finite resource for any human, appears to be wearing dangerously thin. That recurring look of sheer, unadulterated exhaustion that washes over her face when confronted with yet another predictable, drama-baiting question isn't a display of petulance or anger. It's the profound fatigue of someone who has been forced to memorize the entire circus script and could probably recite it backwards. She's not just enduring a series of tough, insightful questions about her profession, she's meticulously navigating a psychological minefield where every question seems engineered to provoke a specific, often negative reaction. Her increasingly clipped answers, her sometimes forced, almost duct-taped smile, these aren't indicators of her being rude, arrogant, or difficult, as some critics might suggest. Instead, they are the visible battle scars of an individual surviving a daily, high-stakes pop quiz on emotional endurance and media manipulation, all while simultaneously trying to maintain focus on her actual, incredibly demanding job, playing professional basketball at the highest possible level.
Merchandise sales for the WNBA have reportedly increased by 500% since her arrival, with Clark merchandise leading the way. Her games have drawn millions of viewers. We've talked about that before. The Indiana Fever's franchise value has reportedly quadrupled due to Clark's presence. Indianapolis has seen an increase in hotel bookings, tourism related to Fever games, and Clark's popularity. Some projections suggest Clark's presence could help the WNBA generate nearly $1 billion in revenue in 2025.
Fueling this exhausting fire is the media's persistent, almost obsessive insistence on casting her in the narrow, limiting role of the isolated superstar. She's often portrayed as a solitary figure, bravely battling not just her opponents on the court, but also a league purportedly filled with silent haters, jealous rivals, and indifferent officials. They craft narratives that make it seem as if there's a clandestine society, a cabal of players and coaches meeting in dimly lit, candlelit locker rooms to plot her downfall and strategize ways to trip her during warm-ups. This pervasive, everyone's against you narrative isn't even reflective of her own public style or statements, but it's aggressively slapped onto her persona like a pre-assigned, ill-fitting jersey because, undeniably, paranoia and conflict sell far better and generate more clicks than stories of progress, teamwork, or quiet competence. While the media machine is busy pushing this tired, often inaccurate trope, they conveniently miss or ignore the more complex reality. She's an intense competitor, undoubtedly, but also a dedicated teammate striving to win games and build chemistry, not wage a solitary, dramatic one-woman war against the entire WNBA infrastructure.
Right. Now, the guy brought up, she was poked in the eye, hit it in the face. But Monica absolutely ignores that, right? And has nothing negative to say about Marina Mabrey shoving Caitlin Clark over. Says it's a part of competition. What is competitive about that? What is competitive about somebody blindsiding somebody and shoving them? Now, mind you, she also didn't even acknowledge that Sheldon actually after poking Caitlyn in the eye, she walks up to her and like bumps her chest on Caitlyn, which is why Caitlyn shoved Sheldon off of her.
Perhaps the most glaring and frustrating hypocrisy in this entire saga lies in the starkly disparate levels of accountability applied to different parties within the WNBA ecosystem. While Caitlin Clark's every breath, every gesture, every intonation is subjected to intense, almost microscopic scrutiny, what about the standards applied to officiating? When referees miss blatant, game-altering calls, when questionable and overly physical plays go unaddressed or are inconsistently penalized on the court, there is an almost deafening radio silence from official channels. There are no mandatory post-game press conferences grilling officials about controversial decisions, no public explanations for apparent blunders. The officials often seem to vanish like Houdini into the ether post-game, only to reappear at the next assignment, seemingly cloaked in an immunity to the kind of relentless public scrutiny that players, especially high-profile ones like Clark, are forced to endure daily. Caitlyn could absorb a hip check that sends her flying into the third row of spectators, and the immediate follow-up question from some quarters wouldn't be about the missed foul or player safety. It would more likely be a speculative query about whether she was perhaps being too intense or drawing too much contact, effectively blaming the bruised individual for being in the path of aggression.
The jealousy is real. The jealousy is real. You know, this damn dump just can't get out of its own way. Yesterday should have been a celebration in the WNBA. Celebrate our missed layups. Even though the celebration was an illusion that masked the serious problem facing this league.
Came to blows, okay? It was a lot going on. The Indiana Fever was able to defeat them in that game, but Sophie Cunningham said that she has gone too far. This is not the first time that people have accused Sophie Cunningham of just, doing way too much, being too physical, almost being an aggressive bully in the WNBA. And people are now calling for Caitlin Clark, as well as Sophie Cunningham, as well as Marina Mabry, and as well as JC Sheldon to get flagrant 1 fouls. Now, I'm going to tell you in this article what exactly the WNBA is going to do to all the ladies above.
This perceived lack of consistent officiating and the apparent absence of robust accountability for overly physical plays becomes even more pronounced and inflammatory when specific on-court incidents are replayed and dissected ad nauseum across sports networks and social media. The infamous shove from Marina Mabry, the blindside hit from Chennedy Carter that resulted in a flagrant foul, only after public outcry and league review. The consistently aggressive and borderline reckless defense employed by players like Sophie Cunningham or JC Sheldon. These moments are endlessly analyzed, debated, and often sensationalized. The narrative frequently frames Clark as either a perpetual target of aggression or, in some more bizarre interpretations, somehow complicit in inviting such physicality. The discourse rarely centers adequately on the league's fundamental responsibility to protect all its players, especially its marquee star who is bringing unprecedented attention and revenue from plays that clearly cross the line from competitive toughness into the realm of dangerous or unsportsmanlike conduct. This void in accountability inevitably leads many fans to believe, rightly or wrongly, that there's either a tacit acceptance of this treatment or, more cynically, a concerted effort to bully or humble her.
Fever game day, let's go. Listen, man, I know all the controversy, all types of foolishness is going on, but look, we got to stay focused. Are we trying to win a championship or what? Are we trying to win a championship or what? If that is the case, we got to turn the page and we have to focus on the task at hand, which is the Golden State Valkyries. We can't be worried about what happened last game. We beat that. Those were some bums. We beat them by 20, but yeah, we blew them out. The sun didn't stand a chance. The sun wasn't going to shine that day. No chance. We got to focus on the Golden State Valkyries and what they present.
Yet somehow, amidst this swirling, chaotic vortex of relentless media hype, widespread fan outrage, intense on-court aggression, and questionable officiating, Caitlin Clark continues to step onto the hardwood and deliver performances that are consistently nothing short of brilliant. Her basketball IQ and court vision are frequently described by seasoned analysts as surgical, almost preternatural. Her passing ability is undeniably elite, often involving no-look dimes and creative feeds that leave defenders flat-footed. Her shooting range is legendary, capable of stretching defenses to their breaking point. She processes the complex dynamics of the game like a high-speed supercomputer, making critical split-second decisions and fluid adjustments that often leave opponents, and sometimes even her own teammates, scrambling to keep up. She can be dissecting intricate defensive sets while being aggressively double-teamed and still manage to thread a perfect defense-splitting pass to an open teammate on the perimeter. This is the authentic, compelling story, the narrative of a rare talent excelling under immense pressure that often gets tragically buried under an avalanche of headlines focused on her facial expressions, alleged feuds, or the latest manufactured controversy.
She gets hit right here, pushes her, and then this bitch just takes her out. Marina Mabrey is ass. She has 6 points. This is her biggest highlight, and this is the biggest crowd that will ever watch this woman play basketball. Oh my. Bro, they ain't playing about Caitlin Clark this time. Nope.
So the crucial question that hangs heavy in the air is, what is truly happening here? The WNBA has been gifted a generational talent, a true needle mover, an athlete with transcendent appeal in Caitlin Clark, but the pervasive, almost obsessive focus on manufactured drama, the relentless microanalysis of her every non-basketball related move, and the perceived, persistent lack of consistent protection and fair officiating on the court are threatening to overshadow not only her incredible skill, but also the genuinely positive and transformative impact she's having on the growth and perception of women's professional basketball. The pressing concern isn't just whether Caitlin Clark, as an individual, can continue to handle this extraordinary pressure. It's whether the league itself and the media ecosystem that covers it are capable of, or even willing to, shift the dominant narrative from a tabloid-tier spectacle back to the compelling drama of the sport itself. Because if they collectively continue to poke the bear, to prioritize clicks over credibility, they might not appreciate the eventual consequences when that bear finally decides to truly roar with unbridled frustration, or worse for the league's future, chooses to walk away from the circus entirely, taking that billion-dollar impact and the hopes of a new generation of fans right along with her. The stakes are incredibly high, and the current trajectory feels unsustainable.